Did you know that even when you're asleep, you might be able to answer a question correctly? Well, that's what a new study found. And what the research shows, at least this study shows, is that while it might be difficult to kind of have a conversation with someone while they're sleeping, it's not impossible. And I think this is for evolutionary reasons. It makes sense that while we're sleeping, we should also be at least a little bit connected to the environment around us. Because if you don't hear that lion roaring in the middle of the night while you're sleeping, you probably wouldn't survive that. And so we need to be a little bit open to the environment. And of course, that's why alarms work. That's why the fire alarm works. That's why the alarm on your phone works. So we have to be at least a little bit able to perceive the environment even while we're sleeping. And so this makes sense. And this study takes that idea even further, where basically the researchers trained the participants to be able to tell when they were having a lucid dream, which means that they were aware that they were dreaming, and then also how to respond to questions with signals, like blinking in Morse code, for example, things like that to show that they were answering that question. And I think that's really interesting. And so I wanted to talk about it today. And this also reminds me of why I don't like things like Alexa and Siri. And the reason is they have to always be listening for you to be able to give a command to that system. So it can't be turned off if you want to be able to anytime say, "Hey, Alexa, order me a pizza." Well, in order for that to work, Alexa has to be listening all the time for it to be able to pick up on when you say Alexa. And that's kind of, I guess, what this research is saying our brains are kind of like. I'm not saying it's exactly the same thing, but our brains are kind of like that, where they're always kind of open to the environment, even when we're sleeping. And sometimes we can even answer a question accurately while we're asleep with someone who's not asleep who's asking that question to us. And that's what this study was about. So let's read a little bit from this story from Science Mag. They say, in the movie Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio enters into other people's dreams to interact with them and steal secrets from their subconscious. Now, it seems this science fiction plot is one baby step closer to reality. For the first time, researchers have had conversations involving novel questions and math problems with lucid dreamers, people who are aware that they're dreaming. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time solving math problems when I'm awake. So I don't know if I could do it while I'm asleep or not, but some people can in some situations. And the findings from 4 labs and 36 participants suggest that people can receive and process complex external information while sleeping. This work challenges the foundational definitions of sleep, says cognitive neuroscientist Benjamin Baird of University of Wisconsin, who studies sleep and dreams but was not part of the study. Traditionally, he says, sleep has been defined as a state in which the brain is disconnected and unaware of the outside world. Again, it's kind of more like Alexa or Siri than maybe we thought before. And then I just want to come down here and talk about the actual study itself, because I think this is the interesting part. So the researchers trained participants to recognize when they were dreaming by explaining how lucid dreaming works and demonstrating cues, sounds, lights, or finger tapping that they would present while the dreamer slept. The idea was that those cues would signal to participants that they were dreaming. Nap sessions were scheduled at different times, some at night when people would regularly go to bed, and others early in the morning. Each lab used a different way to communicate with the sleeper, from spoken questions to flashing lights. Sleepers were told to signal that they had entered a lucid dream and answer questions by moving their eyes and face in particular ways, by, for example, moving their eyes 3 times to the left. And now let's check out the results. The researchers asked 158 questions of the lucid dreamers, who responded correctly 18.6% of the time, the researchers reported in Current Biology. The dreamers gave the wrong answer to only 3.2% of the questions, and 17.7% of their answers were not clear. 60.8% of the questions got no response at all. So 60% or so of the time they didn't respond at all. 18% plus of the time they were actually correct. And 3.2% of the time they were incorrect. And then, about 17% of the time the answers were not clear one way or the other. So this says, after several questions, the dreamers were woken up and asked to describe their dreams. Some remembered the questions as part of a dream. One dreamer reported math problems coming out of a car radio. Another was at a party when he heard the researcher interrupting his dream, like a narrator in a movie, to ask him whether he spoke Spanish. And so this study tells us that people can actually pick up on things in the environment and respond to them even while they're sleeping. And I'm not sure what impact this research will have or what the next step is in studying this or studying dreams or sleep or what applications this study has. But I think it's really interesting that now we know that during sleep, our brains are a little bit more like Alexa or Siri than just kind of cut off from the external world. And again, that's probably a good thing considering that there are things that can happen in the environment that we need to respond to even while we're asleep. And that's probably why this happens. And with that, if you enjoyed this video and you like topics like this, I post a new piece of intellectual dark chocolate for you every single day at 7 a.m. Eastern Time so that you can enjoy a video like this with your morning coffee or while you get ready for work or school.